Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today we're back on the range Rover Evoque and we're going to be replacing yet one more door lock actuator. Stay tuned. So, the beginning of the year I replaced the driver's side actuator. In that video I mentioned that the passenger side and both rear door lock actuators had been replaced by Land Rover themselves. It now seems that the passenger side has once again failed. So I have not replaced the passenger side one before in the past. It looks very similar to the driver's side, obviously just in reverse. You have the door catch section. This is where you attach your central locking. This is what locks and unlocks the car. And on this side, this is your internal door lever release that will attach here and here. And this mechanism controls the unlatching of the door from the inside. So basically, when you unlock the car, you can try the external handle and the door will not open. If you double tap the button to lock the vehicle and then press unlock on the driver's side, that was my fix for a short time. It will not work on this side. Once you have locked the vehicle, the only way of gaining access to the vehicle is by actually getting inside from the driver's side, leaning across and popping the door handle. If you have a passenger in the car, this can become quite annoying and also a little bit embarrassing to have such a nice car and to have little things like this failing all the time. When trying to lock the vehicle, it will not lock. It will beep twice at you, basically indicating that one door has not locked on the vehicle. What I've found is the only way to lock the car after you've had a passenger is to go in and manually push the lock button above the actual lever. Once you've done that, you can then lock the car, but unless you've done that, it just will not lock. I could possibly take off the current one and try to repair it. I did with the driver's side one, but it was no good. These are really cheap to buy. Hopefully this will last the life of the car. I highly doubt it. It does have a good warranty. I think this came for 2 or 3 years warranty, so at least I can, if it fails again within the next year or so, I can actually send this back and get a replacement or get this repaired. These are really cheap to pick up. Definitely cheaper than the genuine parts, obviously. I will leave a link down below of where I picked this up. Removing the driver's side one, you need very little tools. With obviously a Phillips head screwdriver. I used a pick because here's some covers that you need to remove. And I think I probably used the T27, T20 and T30. I think are the ones I used last time. I will leave a link in the description to these if you want to pick some up. So to remove this, if it is the same as the driver's side, which I suspect it will be a case of popping the covers. There's 2 covers on the actual armrest that you need to remove. Once they are removed, you remove the screws that are underneath them. There is a screw on the edge of the door. Then you can pull the door card away. Once it's pulled away, you can remove the electrical cables behind the door card, put that to the side. There will be a bunch of torque bolts that you need to remove. There will be some torque bolts that need to be removed on the actual edge of the door, which holds this in place. We'll probably need to remove the rail that actually goes in front of the glass as a support, as a brace. There's a bolt, I believe it was at the bottom. Remove that and you can actually move it aside. That will then gain you access to the actuator. With these 3 bolts removed, we should be able to pull the actuator out of the door and actually bring it out, so we can remove this connection and then we can bring it in the garage. There will be a connection here and here that will need to be removed from the faulty unit and then transferred onto this one, and then we can put this one back in place, put it all back together, and hopefully all will be working. So let's go out and let's get it removed. Okay, so I've got it off. That was not fun at all. So this is the original and this is the replacement. So I did remove the bolt from that brace, like I mentioned, but I also removed the bolt from the top. It just gave that slight bit of extra play, not much, but just enough to be able to get this out comfortably. I will mention, be careful when you take that bolt out because it's a sealed area. The bolt had fallen inside and it was a nightmare to get it back out. It took a good 5-10 minutes, eventually got back out, but if you are going to do it, make sure you're using a magnetic tip. I removed the manual internal lever linkage, which clips onto here and here. It just helped because I need to rotate this around to enable me to be able to get access to the rest of the clips, and that cable basically gets in the way, which means you can only turn it about halfway around. This is the cable and these are the clips. As you can see, one side is flat and the other side has teeth, one at the top on each side. It's these teeth that clip into these two holes. I would strongly advise using a pick or something very small because you need to get into them and actually bend them backwards. Usually you can get away with just taking one out and it'll come off at an angle, and with a bit of working you can actually remove it fully. So this sits on inside like so, and there is the same clip mechanism here and at the top. This one is not that difficult to get off. You can use a pick, and working in the hole that the actual door catch sits at, you can actually get a pick in and remove one side, and the cable, basically rotate the cable and the cable will remove out of that. That isn't too bad. It is the top one which caused me the most issues. I resort to actually rotating it all the way around like so. I put my fingers in the hole where the door pin catches and held this in place, and using my other hand I got a pick into here, remove the top, and the same thing, move this around and rotate it so that the wire can slide out, and then you can fully remove it. I'm going to put the new one in. I'm going to get it in position, rotate it. I'm going to feed that wire through, clip in the top, rotate it back. Working in this access hole, I'm then going to rotate the cable, hook it on this end, then clip the clip in the top, and that side is done. Rotate it round. I will fit this back on. Once all this is in place, I can connect the electrical connections and I can bolt this in place, and that is the actuator finished, installed. You could obviously try this before reassembling everything, but this does not work. So if this does not work, I'm not exactly going to go ahead and put the old one back on. I'll just keep this one on until I get yet one more replacement, but hopefully this should be okay. Hopefully it'll be a lot faster putting it back on than it was taking it off, so let's get to it. And that is it, the lock is installed and fully working. I had a bit of a nightmare trying to get this in at first. So one little tip I would give is to remove this screw and remove this cover. The reason being, the cable has to basically, you push this up with your finger and you thread the end of the cable in, push it down, lock it in position, then release, and that will come down, and that way the pin will not come back out. You have very limited room inside the door, and because of the way this is positioned and the cable length is so short, you're kind of working in a corner and you can't really get both hands in there and do all this at the same time. I spent about 20-30 minutes trying to get this in. I had no luck. It was getting really frustrating. Then I decided, right, there must be a better way to do this. Using our T20, remove the screw. This will then come away like so. With the cover not being on the unit, you have much more access. With this access area here at the side, you are able to just basically put this in kind of at an angle, and you can see the groove where the cable should fit. Slide the cable in, connect it all up, pull it back so it's seated in place. You could even go ahead and clip in the yellow clip at the top here. In the door, it'll kind of be like this. You will be able to clip this back on. It's not that difficult, it takes a minute or so. Get your screw back in using your T20, and once that's back in, you can then carry on with connecting the bottom clip, which is, like I say, it's a case of putting the clip in at an angle and then rotating it. Clip it in place up here. So then in your door, you'll be looking at the unit like this, so you can rotate it around, and you need to attach your internal lever, which, same as before, goes up. You start off here, rotate it down, and then clip it in place. What I would do is, where the actual yellow clips seat in these holes, just get your pick or whatever you're using, screwdriver, and just apply some pressure and make sure they are in there snug and you can't remove it, because I did find on this one it clipped in place, but when I moved it, it came off slightly. The plastic, I guess because I've obviously pried it back, it hadn't actually took its shape back to its original position, so I just got my pick and pushed it and it clipped in place and it was completely solid, and that is not going anywhere. That is the hardest part. Once you have the internal lever reattached, put this up against the side of the door, put your bolts back in, line up your brace, put the bolt in the bottom, put your internal cover on, screw that in place, line up your door card, connect all the cables, and your door card literally just clips back in place. I had a bit of an issue with the weather stripping. The weather stripping actually came off with my door card. That should stay in place, so I had to remove the weather stripping from the actual door card, clip it back on the actual frame of the door, and then the door card just lines up and clips in place. Very little tools required. A Phillips head screwdriver and a couple of torque bits. I used a magnet at one point because I dropped the screw down the side. I used a magnet and some long nose pliers to get that back out. That was a bit of a challenge. And a pick. I actually used 2 different kind of picks. You can pick these up. I got a pack of 4. They're really cheap. I think they were like £5, not much. These you probably will have a set of these somewhere, or at least 1 or 2 of the most common sizes, but you can pick these up really cheap. I will leave a link down in the description for what I use. These are impact rated ones, so you don't have to get these ones. You can get the much cheaper ones if you're not using an impact. If you do use an impact, fine for taking stuff off. When you are putting the bucket part of the door card, I'm not quite sure what it's called, what holds the speakers and all the connections, use this to get them started, but finish them off by hand because they're nylon and you will strip the threads and then they won't grip, which is not good. You can actually pick them up like this. They come like a set of Allen keys on the kind of like a plastic board almost, what they all slide into. You can get a pack of these for really cheap, especially from your local cheap hardware store. Very easy to get hold of, very common sizes, so you shouldn't have no problems trying to get hold of a set of them. So the driver's side is a lot easier to do because the driver's side does not have this connection. I'm guessing This is on the passenger side, and I'm assuming it's on the rear doors also. I guess the driver's side is kind of the master, so it doesn't really need one of these. I guess this is controlled by the driver's side. Once I took the cover off, it took a minute or so, but trying to get that in with that cover on, just absolute nightmare. I have checked this over. I have not taken it to bits. I'm not going to waste my time doing that because last time I did it, it was perfectly fine. But I have noticed that this side of it, if you guys can hear that, doesn't sound very healthy. The new one I've put in is nice and smooth. It doesn't make any sound, but this one definitely, it's really tight and something's binding. Well, there you go guys, I'm gonna leave this one here. It's working, so happy days. Hopefully it'll last a couple of years. This one only lasted a couple of years, and this was a genuine part, so I'm not holding my breath, but I don't see the point of paying all the extra money for the genuine part. If that fails after a couple of years, I may as well just go out, buy the one that's a fraction of the price and get a few years out of that. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully it's helped you guys out. Hopefully it helped you guys fix your issue. And like always, please like, subscribe, comment down below. I'll see you in the next one.